It is the Lee Company countdown to kickoff. 6:01 in the dark Music City.
What?
Dark and wet. It's raining all around. It's football weather. It feels like fall. I understand it's probably even colder.
I know. We're getting ready for this home game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Happy home game, everybody. Hey, that's a win. Guaranteed win today. The Titans
man.
always win
I
at
love
home.
how they painted the end zone with the Titan baby blue. It was impressive. So it inspired me to wear my baby blue today. You can't hardly see it, though. It's a little bright.
Just for people who don't know, I'm not necessarily a morning person. My voice barely works. Blaine walked in here like it was 3 in the afternoon because he's already been up for 2 hours and Peloton and, had a poached egg and had his coffee.
I took a break, but I made sure I had my coffee and took my time with my Danish.
Yeah. This dude, we were the complete opposite. I'm the guy who grew up in the country and had to get up and get on a tractor every day. So getting up early only brings back the worst of memories for me.
Oh, well, yeah.
But anyway, here we are.
I rarely go to practice. I was always first one in.
There you go. We're doing our thing. Lee Company, they're the first one in your house when you need help. The Titans trust their home stadium to Lee Company to tackle their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical problems. They can protect your home, too. Your next play is to visit leecompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. As I understand it, do we have one?
That looks sweet right there. Live from London. Buck Reising?
Are you there, Bucky?
It's hardly the Clash, boys, but we're here, we're live, and we're in person. Good morning.
Oh, good morning.
Well, good afternoon to you almost.
That's right. It's noon.
Oh, have you got adjusted to the time? Is that?
Oh no, listen, brother, I am well adjusted. I'm feeling phenomenal. It's a beautiful day here at Tottenham. The sun was out for a brief moment. The outdoor press box has since descended into the darkness and the shade. It is about 46 degrees, or will be by the time this thing kicks off. And but it's phenomenal. It's a great setup, and I'm looking forward to covering this one.
Well, before we go any further, give us your itinerary, all the things that you have done, so we can feel like we were there, man. We only living through your IG account, man. So that's not enough.
You want me to take you around?
Quick tour. Mm-hmm.
Oh, sure. So I'm staying at a hotel right by the Marble Arch on Hyde Park. I got out yesterday. I walked the town. I had booked upon the recommendation of my mom, the Winston Churchill War Rooms tour. So I walked through Hyde Park to get there, not knowing that on my walk there was Buckingham Palace and all the famous parliamentarian, I guess they're not federal buildings here, but all the different government buildings and various royal establishments on my walk through Hyde Park. Took a lot of pictures with all the different statues and whatnot. Did the War Rooms tour for about 2.5 hours. It was amazing. I brought you both back a guidebook so we can all learn about Winston Churchill together.
Nice.
And then, for those of you who were watching the news yesterday, there was a very, very large pro-Palestinian protest through the streets of London that also spilled into Trafalgar Square, which is where the Titans pregame party was.
Okay.
So we had a little bit of an interesting dynamic, a coming together of society, shall we say. A bunch of frightened-looking people wearing two-tone blue apparel and getting funny looks from the various Londoners that was walking by them on the street. And then, a very lively and safe and peaceful protest that was going on across the street from said watch party at the Admiralty, where we had been doing the radio shows on Friday. So we've had the full experience, and only a day, boys, and not even for the main event that we're here to work.
A very busy Buck Reising. As Jim Wyatt said in one of his patented dad jokes, he puts the buck in Buckingham Palace yesterday.
That's right. Wyatt's right in front of me. He's preparing his various dad jokes. He's fired up. He is about to have a day. Peak Wyatt form. I don't know what the delay is going to be on his international tweeting, because people get frustrated with he and I for how fast we tweet during the games. So I don't know if you're going to have to account for the time difference. It's about 6 hours for those of you at home.
What is actually the secret to tweeting out during the game so fast?
You know,
He's giving away trade
that's an
secrets
excellent
now.
question. An excellent question.
No, because I
A
see everybody
screen-
and I'm following everybody, right? And I go, my phone just. I'm like, dang, man, I can't even finish
know,
my
Blaine, I
thought,
sat
and then
next to you.
they already typed it up and it's out.
I have sat next to you during games. I'm very aware of your notification situation. The secret is an average screen time, according to my phone this morning, of 10 and a half hours a day. That is the secret to the speed tweeting.
Ooh, man.
Buck, staying on that screen just to give you all the information you need. You mentioned the weather, so it's in the 40s now, supposed to be around 50-ish, I guess, at kickoff during the game, and cloudy, or is it going to be sunny there?
So the sun is out right now, though it is slowly descending behind the stadium.
Okay.
Koharski is preparing. He has come with many, many layers and a hat to make sure that he is adequately protected from the elements out here. So right now the sun is out. I don't see many clouds, but on the island, apparently, that is it's a quick change. So I anticipate some cloud cover at some point later this afternoon.
There you go. Fair enough. Weather brought to you by Buck Reising and Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, who's offering effective solutions like free service calls with their repairs and low monthly payments on those repairs. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling available anytime at springhillac.com. They could probably stay pretty busy in London, that's for sure. Interesting story to kind of start the week, guys. Two totally different travel philosophies. The Ravens went early. The Titans went later in the week. Fascinating to see such different approaches. Buck, I imagine so far it has been a whirlwind encounter for the Titans, just getting there and then getting into those NFL-mandated activities. We saw practice videos and things and trying to practice and do everything else they need to do.
Yeah, and I mean, Mike Vrabel talked about it when they arrived on Friday, the idea of hitting the ground running, and that was certainly the case. They didn't have much time to be tired, I suppose, because it wasn't just, the practice. They had various international media obligations, not just with the local schleps who made it out here with them, such as myself. They had NFL UK various engagements with kids of different ages. They had fan meet and greets. They had a packed schedule as soon as they got here. And of course, as we'll talk about, the Ravens have been here since Monday. So not much time to acclimate, one would say. I know that they feel like they handled the situation fine before. There were not many players who were on that trip in 2018 that are still on the current Titans roster. There are a variety of them that have made the trip with respective teams, but this is a pretty hit it and quit it type of situation, and we'll see if it has any impact on them today, because certainly Trevor Lawrence brought it up last week against the Bills and called them sleepy.
Oh, sleepy. You think these Titans are going to be sleepy, Hitman?
Oh, I don't know. That's why I don't have a good game to the team. Obviously, I have no idea. They came out flat last week. I don't know, man. Defense didn't even show up. I have no idea.
Blaine thought I was lying to him when I said, no, get out of here with double digits. Blaine thought I was lying to him last week.
Oh, man. They when you look at the tape, it's not even close. Against the Titans, it was.
Well, these Titans actually ruled out Traylon Burks and Luke Gifford and Elijah Molden before they ever left Nashville. Buck, I saw maybe you had tweeted something about this, going back and forth with a fan, just having a conversation. You mentioned the bye week probably even saved an IR spot for Burks.
Yes, that had kind of been their game plan with this, and as we've talked about before, guys, the idea that he had, they had avoided disaster largely with the LCL sprain in August, but he was still kind of working through some stuff once he came back from New Orleans, and I thought, did well to tough it out to an extent. Now, this is a separate situation with Traylon Burks. Now, it is another knee injury, but it happened in the week leading up, the practice leading up to the Cincinnati Bengals game. And at that point, they thought it in his best interest just to kind of keep him available post week 7 here when they'll have their bye after this London game, which, by the way, not every team has a bye after the international games the way that this team does or will after the results of this morning back home. but they're hoping to get him back clean on the other side, and that this extended rest will allow him to be able to play out the stretch or as best as humanly possible.
It's interesting, guys, because this is 3 weeks that Burks has missed this year. He missed 6 games last year, and it's for all kinds of different stuff. He had the terrible concussion on what looked like an illegal hit against the Eagles, I guess, but it wasn't called. Called a knee issue. He had turf toe last year. I'd forgotten about that. I would just love to see this guy get some momentum in his career and just get a nice run of games played. Buck Reising Zoom must be acting up over there.
No. I'm sorry.
no,
I
there
thought
he
you
is.
were throwing the blame. I'm here. I had just finished yammering, so I was going to give somebody else a turn, I suppose. I mean, of course, you would like to see him just have an opportunity to get his feet under him. And again, it's another player who we thought had a great summer, who seemed to be setting up well heading into the season, and this one, for different reasons than Christian Fulton, another player I'm sure we'll discuss at some point this morning, has had a difficult start for his second year, and they really could use the guy.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see when a player has different injuries and not the same. How do you view that as a coaching staff and as a head coach? Is he starting to be injury prone? I'm talking about him, Phillips, anybody's in that, category that are young players that could really impact some things a little bit more than you expect. So, yeah, always disappointing, but sometimes you kind of say, man, these guys just had some bad luck. And you just wonder, if him playing on the LCL and then not really being fully 100%, did that lead to another injury?
Okay.
I can hear Jim Wyatt.
Yeah.
He's working the phones back there.
He's working the logistics. He's trying to figure out where the media workroom is. Yeah, it is an open air press box, so you guys are getting the full experience, which is fun from time to time, but often does make for a distracting work environment. As there is also a Ravens fan hanging over the upper deck above me, threatening to teeter over, trying to wave down Ndamukong Suh, who was here doing some international broadcasting.
I was like a mile and a half.
Yeah, Jimbo had to walk a mile and a half. Really? Or he did that this morning?
Well, let's go to this because this has, Buck, you mentioned, as you're being distracted a little bit there, the big distraction and the big talk this week here has been about Christian Fulton. I'll ask you, how short do you think his leash is today? It's been most of the talk around here has been about him and what might happen with him.
I mean, they don't really have much of an insurance policy. They cut Kendall Vildor yesterday, and I've not been able to determine whether that was a preordained decision or if that was something that was done overseas. I can't imagine they dragged him over here just to waive him yesterday. But they waived Kendall Vildor. They don't have Elijah Molden. He didn't make the trip. I mean, I guess they could have him in a off the bench role and say, Trey Avery, get out there and take a couple snaps. But I think they just desperately need him to play better, and I think they're giving him plenty of opportunities to improve upon his current situation. It's going to be a great question, but Mike Vrabel certainly wasn't shy about it when I asked him last week.
Yeah, I've voiced my opinion on this all week, and that is I would continue through the bye week, and hopefully he can start going in the right direction. But if not, then we reconvene at the bye week after this game because of the options. And it's not because that I don't think they couldn't do it. I just feel like he is the best option. And so can I get it out of him to play to that level? Typically, his history tells you he's a much better player. So, unfortunately, for a game or two here this season, not so much, and actually probably costing the team in some form or fashion in those losses. So, yeah, I'm open-eyed to looking at them, but I'm definitely not open to benching them. And the Vildor to me is another sign that they're not going in a different direction because I don't even understand why they release him. Maybe it's because their opponent, maybe they don't do enough 3 receivers or something. He's a good player. I hadn't even seen him very much, and when he's played, he's done actually solid. He played in the Saints game and another game. I was like, whoa, okay, yeah, and I like his skill set. So that's kind of interesting to that they didn't at least dress him just in case something happened where they do bench Fulton or take him out the game.
Well, Shy Carter is up and on the active
He's
roster.
a safety though, right?
At this point, and they do have Dane Cruikshank available off the practice squad, who's also a safety. So apparently, safety heavy corner. I mean, I don't know if they drop Amani Hooker down there the way that they did and had to in spurts last year, Blaine. If they have to shift some things around, if the audience will remember, I think it was Andrew. Was it Andrew Adams? I want to say number 47.
Andrew Adams, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Towards ACL at the end.
Because I always got dyslexic on him. I kept calling him Adam Andrews throughout the course of the season. Either way, they had to when they were dealing with Amani Hooker's injury. Adams came in and played well, and ultimately, without Elijah Molden last year, you'll remember that they played Amani Hooker in a lot of their nickel looks. And they played a lot of slot last year as well. So perhaps that's the way that they're going to try and patchwork this thing up today, should they have a situation where they pull Christian Fulton. But damn sure they're giving him an opportunity to try and get this thing right. They need him.
Yeah, and he has a lot at stake too. I mean, with being contract here, and I think it's working in reverse. I don't know if you heard me say this before, but I think he's trying too hard to make plays, and that's why he keeps looking in the backfield, because he thinks so much is at stake. So he wants to make a play so bad instead of letting the game come to him and let the coverages just play out. And if you make a play, you make a play. But if it's not meant to be made, then don't try to force it. And I think that is exactly what he's doing. He's too polished of a cornerback to now all of a sudden have pickaboo problems. That's usually when you're young in your career, and now he's knee deep and coming from a great program and producing pro NFL defensive back.
Right.
So it's really surprising that that's happening. And I think that's the only reason he's now trying to force things and make plays. That's why you look in the backfield. He knows better than that. That's almost impossible for him not to know. And then to keep doing it. So why does he keep doing it? So you got to look at the why. Like, why would somebody this good be doing that? He had any problems before. Oh, contract here. He's trying to make sure he get his money, because guess what? When they turn on the tape, Buck, they see people making plays, or you're not. See, that's it. So it doesn't matter about the pass interference. That's why he keeps talking, it's a technical. Those are just two plays. That's what he really thinks in his mind. And those are the only two plays. Well, I mean, I can't go play a perfect game. I'm going to make a play. I'm about to get paid, because I know I'm not going to get paid here. That's what I think.
He certainly is acting that way. And listen, I mean, you know this, and we all know this, haven't been around football for long enough at this point, that the disposition of a defensive back to a certain extent has to be, well, whatever, next game, next play. There are moments when you're going to get beat. You have to have a certain understanding of that. But I mean, even he, whether he wants to publicly acknowledge it, and certainly would be unwise to do so to the media, that he is clearly and obviously pressing. Like, there's too much of a sample size now for him not to look at it in some kind of self-evaluation. And even in talking to us in the locker room afterwards, Blaine, I mean, it's just weird when you start talking about, well, it's tough when you're playing against the wide receivers and the refs. You're just like, brother. Yeah. I mean, not a single solitary damn person could care less what you have to say about the officiating situation when it continues to be on you. And they're sure as hell comfortable throwing at you, because they see red meat at this point with a corner that normally on tape doesn't show this many opportunities. We've not had a question about his competency until this year. It's just been about his health, his durability. And all of a sudden, and understand it, like, it's tough. God knows what it's like. And Blaine, you speak to this better than I could. Like, what that is like trying to earn that second contract, the amount of pressure that you are under, because that's the game-changing, life-changing money. So I do try to be cognizant of that. There's a huge human element and component there that has to play. But I mean, he's gotta settle in at some point. This is not sustainable.
This show brought to you by Lee Company. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. Before we let Buck go, we'll get to Buck's best bets and Mickey's money makers. By the way, I have 3 today. I don't know how animated I'm going to be at this time in the morning, but we'll get to those in
Now, wait just a damn minute. I thought I was off the hook for that. I thought this was a different setup. I still got to do the best bet.
You got to pull at least one out of your butt today.
All right, I'll find one.
All right, well, you try to find one. You mentioned the roster moves yesterday. So Shy Carter and Taylor Stallworth, who's a defensive tackle, were added to the active roster from the practice squad. Stallworth, just a recent addition to the practice squad. He's a vet, has played quite a few games. Standard elevation from the practice squad, Dane Cruikshank, who a lot of Titans fans remember, and Jaleel Johnson. And then, Buck, as you mentioned, they waived Kendall Vildor. It's like he was hardly ever here. And offensive lineman Justin Murray, who I think some people thought might have a chance to bust into the rotation at some point, but he did not. Do you look at these D-line moves as an indication of how T.R. Tart might be healthy or not healthy? We all wondered last week how much they missed T.R. Tart. Sounds like we might be wondering that again.
Yeah, you might ask Ndamukong Suh if you can sign him to a one-day contract while he's here working the sidelines for Sky Sports, because I am pessimistic about the status of T.R. Tart today, based on the transactions there. He traveled. They hope that he would be able to make it work throughout the course of the week dealing with that toe situation, but it's going to warrant another week of rest. And probably try and get him also through the spy to get him healthy on the other side.
And Blaine, we had talked a whole lot about that. You made a lot of long plane flights, and injuries and plane flights and big guys, not a great combination.
Oh, yeah. I don't know the situation with the toe, but whenever you're dealing with an injury, especially lower body, man, long flights are always tough. Especially if they didn't have reclining, lay down plane, like they were in a bed. So I don't know if that's what they had or not. But this was going to be interesting to see if everybody now can stay in their gap. We got to see without them how everybody performed against the run game. So let's see how much they improve on that. I think that'll be a huge topic of discussion, especially when you're talking about the Ravens. Not only that, but Lamar Jackson, containing him and keeping him in the pocket as much as possible.
Buck, you ready to do this? Can you pull a Buck's best bet out of your butt this morning?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't sound like I have much choice, do I? Go ahead and do it.
Well, it's a home game. Are you ready to say the Titans will do the typical Vrabel cover when they're underdogs? I mean, what can you cook up for us?
Well, are we doing the music? Do I get the full thing? If we're going to make me do this, let's do this.
Let's do this. Dollar.
All right, let's see if we can't make you guys some international scratch here. I don't know how the pound translates to the dollar necessarily when it relates to the best bets, but I know that I'm making money, and Mickey Ryan has not made you money yet this year.
Boo.
It's
Yes,
the
I
best
have.
bets because we are not volume shooters. We're picking our spots. And we're doing so strategically and with great cowardice so far throughout the course of the football season. But we will continue that trend of scared betting, and we will look at the Baltimore Ravens as a 5.5-point favorite here in London against the mighty home team that is the Tennessee Titans. Now, Mickey says it correctly. They are infinitely better at home than they are on the road. But as we discussed, the Ravens have made this more their home than the Titans have because they've been here since Monday. I am going to take the Titans to cover. 5.5 is too big in an NFL game, really in an international game, because I have no idea what to do with the Tennessee Titans on a regular basis. Just in terms, God help you if you're actually betting on them this year. I pity you. I award you no points, and my God have mercy on your soul. But international games means everything's up for grabs. None of it matters. Nothing. Everything that forget about it. Maybe defense travels overseas. Maybe it doesn't. We'll find out today. I would take the Titans plus the 5.5.
All right, let's roll it. I do bet volume for all the people out there. I want to give them options, Buck. Mickey's moneymakers. Let's ride. Let's ride from here in the stateside. Blaine and Mickey, Mickey's Money Makers. We're bringing them to you. It's still dark outside here, but we're going to lighten things up for your bank account. I got 3 for you today. One involving Tannehill, one involving Henry, one involving Spears. Tannehill over 8.5 rush yards. He has gone over that in 3 of the last 4 games, except for the Browns. I'm pretending like that game did not exist. Ring it up, Joseph. Titans and Tannehill over 8.5 rushing yards. Derrick Henry. A lot of people say, like, things changed for him after his conversation with Eddie George and the last time he was in London against the Chargers. Well, he needs to change because right now he is averaging a career low 3.8 rush yards per carry. Derrick Henry, going with this receiving total, though, over 9.5 receiving yards. He has gone over that every game, but against the Browns game, which, again, I'm just pretending like it didn't happen. So hit Derrick Henry over 9.5 receiving yards. And here's one that I found, like, even all these NFL betting experts had all agreed this was the best bet of the game. I will jump on that train. Tajay Spears over 2.5 receptions. It's time to see him step into that receiving game and do more on that side of things for the Titans. Tajay Spears over 2.5 receptions. Ring it up. So the quarterback rushing and everybody else receiving seems appropriate for a game overseas when, as you said, Buck, and as we say goodbye to you, things can get a little crazy over there. I think Buck has already set himself free.
No, I haven't.
Oh,
no,
there
I
he is.
haven't.
Okay.
Relax.
He's just
No,
recoiling from these bets.
No, Jimmy needed the Wi-Fi password. It's on my phone. I'm trying to appease multiple parties here. I heard all of the best bets. Very good. Make some money today. And, don't bet scared the way that I bet.
Buck, enjoy yourself. Have some beans on toast in the press box, and we'll talk to you upcoming this week.
Well, it's open air, so I would not fear the beans today, but the proximity is still entirely too close, so hopefully nobody else made that decision.
We say goodbye to Buck Reising. We grant him his independence as he rejoins festivities in London ahead of today's game, Titans versus Ravens. Kayla Anderson will join us in the next segment. We will talk to her. Then it'll just be good old Blaine and Mickey in the last segment to get you all the rest of the way home before Titans countdown today. Of course, Lee Company makes all this great stuff possible. Facility managers need a reliable partner for their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical needs. They trust Lee Company's 24/7 service and their team of experts. Your next play is to visit leecompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. Lee Company countdown to kickoff. That's right. Still dark outside in Nashville. We're doing work early, just like Lee Company. You call them and they go to work for you. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. Kayla Anderson and Buck Reising are both literally on site right now at the stadium in London getting ready for the game. We had Buck Reising for segment 1. We have Kayla Anderson who joins us for segment 2. Kayla, Buck told us it's a little bit chilly over there. Are y'all layered up today? Are you ready for London's ever-changing weather on a beautiful fall afternoon?
Well, top of the morning to you guys.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it is a little chilly where the press box is because it is an open air press box. When we arrived, guys, though, it was actually really nice because the sun was on our side. So we were like, oh, we're lucking out. And then it quickly shaded. But I came prepared, guys. I've got a pea coat on top of the coat I'm already wearing and a sweater to put over my legs. So we're good to go.
So Blaine asked Buck for a quick travel, plan. What had he done? What had he seen? So just really quickly, you are there, boots on the ground. What cool things have you seen and done since you've been over there?
Well, you guys knew that I, flew with Will over here, and he is a huge soccer/football is what they, want to call it in the bigger parts of the world, fan. So you could bet your dollar that we went and saw a game on Friday night. Ramon, Will, and myself, we went to England, Australia. So that was crazy electric. It was just a friendly, but 90,000 people almost at the stadium. It was insane. But the real trip was actually taking the underground afterwards. You've never seen a site like that in your life. I don't know how we made it, but we made it. And then we've eaten so many good at so many good restaurants around here. We're staying in an area called Islington. And so then yesterday we went to the Arsenal Stadium and we got a full tour, which was really cool because they're on international break. So we got to tour the entire stadium, go in the locker rooms, all of the good stuff. So that was really cool.
Touring all the soccer stadiums over there. There you go, making use of their time. I don't know how much offense you saw in the soccer stadiums, but let's talk about this. And this certainly, we talked about this a lot on Blaine and Mickey, as I'm sure you guys did on RK Dub. The Titans offense, they've been stuck in neutral. And oddly enough, Kayla, I did a deep dive on the numbers. And even though, as Blaine has pointed out a bunch of times, this looks like a very different offense, it is yielding almost the exact same results for yardage, for points, for everything. They have got to get this thing going today.
You're absolutely right. And it is a little bit interesting because we, even watching that game last week, we felt like at times this offense was starting to get in a flow, at least getting the ball down the field. But then harsh reality is the fact that you just listed off those numbers. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that when they get in the red zone, they're not executing. And quite frankly, they're shooting themselves in the foot. They've had penalties down there. It hasn't looked good in the red zone where they have flourished. Even last year when they were not putting up a ton of points either, at least they were good in the red zone. So when they did get down there, they were scoring. Now you're just seeing them towards the bottom of the league in terms of that. And they've got to fix that today. Absolutely. And especially for the fact that this Ravens offense is very good in the red zone. So something's got to give there. Hopefully the Titans can get that going when they actually get down the field. So maybe we can see the offense clicking all together today. They're going to have to score points, guys.
No doubt about it. Yeah, the Ravens defense is really good in the red zone, and that's kind of been a bugaboo for the Titans. We're interested to see how much, Kayla, have they talked a lot about how they may move D-Hop around, who hasn't had targets in the red zone, considering who he is and what his game is all about, and maybe try, I'm going to say it, force it to him to a certain extent by drawing up plays where they can give him the ball. At least if he doesn't get it, nobody gets it, and they still come out with points, whether it's field goal or not.
Blaine, I'd agree with you, right? I mean, you might as well start trying what has worked for you in your offense up to this point in other situations. And DeAndre Hopkins has proven to be a guy that Tannehill has not only created a connection with, but he's making the catches he's supposed to make. When you signed him here, that's what you expected him to do. Still doesn't have a touchdown. Had his biggest week last week, obviously, his first 100-plus yard game as a Titan. So I'm with you. Blaine, I'm with you. Why not just try to utilize him in that tight area? Because he can usually make the plays. And at this point, nothing else has really worked. So I think you've got to utilize all options at this point to try to get something going in terms of momentum down there, because right now it is not worked out for them. And like I said, again, guys, though, they cannot shoot themselves in the foot. I mean, Chig, OPI, you can't have those down there when you're having to execute. That's not going to get you anywhere. I feel like they've got to stop shooting themselves in the foot, especially in a game like this where I think they'd way rather go into the bye week 3-3 than 2-4. That is a big difference, guys.
Kayla, you mentioned Chig. I mean, if somebody had told you he's going to have 15 catches for 104 yards total through 5 games, I'm looking at it right now. 15 catches, 104 yards through 5 games. I would have said you're crazy. I would have thought this guy would have had a much better start, but it's been slow start for him so far.
It really has, guys. And I'll even admit on our show, Ramon, Kayla, and Will, at the beginning of the season, we actually did a little what do you expect out of the pass catchers in this offense? And we clearly kind of felt that DeAndre Hopkins, if he's going to be here, he's going to have to contribute. We thought 1,000 for him, 1,000 for Traylon, which that's probably not going to happen now because he just hasn't been on the field. But we said about 800 for Chig, 700 maybe. I mean, we're probably overdoing it because the hype was definitely there in the off season, in the preseason. But he is, I'm gonna just kind of put it quite frankly, he's not lived up to the hype, and maybe there was too much hype coming into it, right? But from what we saw his rookie season, I only thought he was going to continue to grow. He just seemed to pick things up well, adapt well to the NFL game, and he's so versatile. You just expected to see a little bit more out of him, but we've seen more so the inconsistency, the drops, like I said, the unneeded penalties with him. And guys, I talked to him in the locker room this past week, and there definitely was a different type of vibe with him. I think he is frustrated with himself. And so you hope that he kind of looks at himself in the mirror this past week and can figure out some things with his game and clean some things up.
Yeah, Chig, I didn't know what to expect. He had a nice finish to his first season. Thought he'd be a little more involved in the offense, to be honest, and maybe it kind of got him out of rhythm. Then he started having some drops. He's in the penalties. So you're only as good as your opportunities, and he hadn't made the most of all his opportunities. That's it's like being receiver tight end. You can only do so much when they get you the ball, and he's kind of snafu'd that a little bit with a couple of the drops. I mean, like a game, a couple games. So that was more surprising to me. Penalties, they come and go, but I would assume that he'll get more opportunities, but maybe he's pressing. That's why he's having the drops, because he hadn't been getting the opportunities. Seeing how that works whirlwind around, because there's no way he's supposed to be where he's at with the stats that he's put up so far. That's disappointing, and so I hope he doesn't start pressing. Sounds like that may be part of this whole issue, and the pressure to live up to expectations, and you only can do what you can do. That's it.
Yeah, Blaine, and I'd agree with you. I mean, it does feel like there's some frustration there, so maybe that is the fact. And you're right. I think that to start the season, we maybe didn't see as much of him as you expected, just to get him acclimated in the offense with Tim Kelly, under this new Tim Kelly type of offense. So maybe if he can kind of just learn from some of these drops, and if he's utilized a little bit more, you can't stop utilizing him, right? I mean, he needs to be incorporated in this offense just as anybody else is, just because he's a versatile player. So yeah, I'd agree with you, Blaine. Just not trying to press so much.
I'll ask both of you guys this. Kayla, I know we all have this F&M bank chat, so for people who listen on the radio, they can participate in various ways, but people who watch online, there's a constantly running chat where they can talk to us. And there were tons of people this week who brought up kind of the start that Tannehill's had. He's only got 2 touchdown passes, which is tied with a part-time player in Gardner Minshew, and Daniel Jones, who's been much maligned, and Andy Dalton, who I had to really think who he even plays for at this point. That's 31st in the NFL. He also has 5 interceptions, which is tied for third most. I think Titans fans would really like to see a lot more out of Ryan Tannehill than what they've been seeing.
He needs to have a good game. And I think he's actually kind of gone under the radar a bit, guys, because there's been so many other issues with this team early on in the season, starting with the offensive line. And look, you go back to that first game and Tannehill got plenty of the blame, and rightfully so. He was not good in that game. And I personally would say, they probably lost that game because of his play. And Blaine, you brought it up several times. This is why I think a lot of these guys, these starters, need to play a little in the preseason. I really do think it's a difference maker once the season starts, because you saw it all over the league with starters who didn't play. There was a lot of inconsistency to start the season. So, but moving past that, I felt like we all were looking at Ryan Tannehill's play and saying, oh, it's been okay, right? It was more focused on the line. And then, when the defense had a flub in Cleveland. And so I think this is a big game for Ryan Tannehill. I think in order for this offense to move up and down the field, to be able to create anything in the red zone, like, he's going to have to play well. And he should be playing well. He was paid. We probably won't see him here next year. Maybe, I don't know. But you have to go out there and continue to be the quarterback of this team and try to push this team forward at this point, because you're at a road that you're starting to turn in a wrong direction. And you can bet he'll get a lot of the blame if it doesn't go well today.
Well, everything's all set up for it to be that way if you need to kind of make that choice if you're a coach. Critiquing Ryan Tannehill in a new offense with a new offensive line, it's really hard. We could say he's just played average. At least that's what I'm going to say. So in regard to that, but if you start losing, you start saying, well, you start, looking at the numbers and say, well, we could have done this maybe with our backup, and then we would have developed a young quarterback in this league. So I don't think anything's going to happen with Tannehill. I think he's a solid player. He's kind of missed some throws, especially early on, as you mentioned, in the New Orleans game, and he's missed, one or two here or there throughout the next couple games. Even this last game, I thought he missed NWI with an underthrow for a touchdown against the Colts. Could have been a huge difference maker in the game. Unfortunately for him, he can't make those kind of errors. This team isn't good enough not to have those plays. So, yeah, I think we're a ways away from critiquing him, but all bets are off after this game when you have a bye week and coaches kind of then go through statistically what's good, bad, and who's hurting and who's not helping the team.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, you look at the situation behind Ryan, too, obviously a unique one with 2 backups that are very young that they drafted back-to-back. Obviously, Will Levis drafted a little bit higher, and you would think that this is a good time for them, no matter what is going to happen this season, to be soaking in as much as this as they can and learning from it. And if that is the case, whoever might be the backup to the starter next year. But yeah, I think Ryan, I don't know if they'll make a move at any point this season. Right now, it doesn't seem like that will be the case, but I think he's definitely feeling the pressure from the fans. And I know he doesn't care, right? He's not looking at social media, but I would think if Ryan Tannehill's in his last season here, he's going to want to do everything he can to win games. I don't doubt that at all. The same with Derrick Henry, right? Like, these guys, they're athletes, they're competitors. They want to come out here, they want to win games. And I still think that there is plenty of football ahead, but I think this game is a biggie, just considering last weekend's results in Indianapolis.
Kayla, you mentioned Derrick Henry. For Titans fans, there are a lot of fans saying, gosh, they're not even using him. He's 5th in the league in carries. We're so used to him being first that 5th just seems like, oh, my gosh, he's not doing anything. They're hardly putting him out there. He's 5th in carries. It doesn't feel like it. He's also averaging a career low 3.8 yards per carry. His previous low ever was 4.2, so he's never been under 4.2. Would be really interesting to see him get going on a day like today. But as Blaine pointed out earlier, this Ravens defense is no joke, and they're good in the red zone, and they're good against the run, and they're good against the pass.
Exactly. And it's been a little interesting, right?
Mhm.
We've always seen this offense be centered around Derrick Henry. I mean, since he took over that starting job, and now we're kind of seeing, in my eyes, a little bit of a shift. And I could be wrong. I just think that there is a little bit more of, okay, let's utilize Tajay Spears. Clearly, Tim Kelly is trying to go away with just run the ball. And I think, while Derrick's here, you still have to utilize him. I just think that they're doing it a little bit differently now because they've seen what Tajay Spears has been able to do. And honestly, as a rookie, he's continued to grow in every game. And I think he's showing more and more in every game. You saw the touchdown last week. You're just waiting for maybe that breakout run from him. Maybe that comes in a game like this. But then again, I never underestimate Derrick Henry in any situation. I still feel like I said, guys, if he's on this Titans team, you need to utilize him. I just am curious as to how this is kind of playing out and how it will continue to play out this season if Derrick Henry surely will not be here next year.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see with the offense and Derrick Henry and Spears. I kind of like the balance. It's surprising for me to hear though that he's still fifth in the league.
Fifth in the league. Yeah.
That's kind of
crazy.
Shocking.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it, but we're conditioned because of all the carries he was getting. Maybe before that he was always at the top, as Mickey mentioned. But yeah, I think Tajay Spears is actually going to be the key cog to helping the offense get over the snide in the red zone. I think they need to implement him a little bit, whether it's be a decoy or being a threat, matched up one-on-one, against a linebacker. So I really want to see that happen, and maybe that opens up everything else for Derrick Henry, who we're talking about here. Funny how that'll work, right, where Derrick Henry's really setting everybody else up. Well, in this case, I think someone needs to help set him up because he should be an unstoppable force in the red zone with us just running the ball 3 times and him being unstoppable. So I'm interested to see if they get there. They're going to have to get points. So hopefully they get there. I mean, they've done it. We're complaining about the offense, but to me, they've kind of 20-20. They've been pretty consistent throughout. Have we wanted to see a little bit more? Yes, but at the same time, in the red zone, it's tough, and they've been at the top. We've been spoiled and conditioned there, and now all of a sudden they have a little bit of hiccup and can put up touchdowns instead of 3 points. Well, at the same point, they're still averaging the same amount of points, and we're great in the red zone last year. So what do we really want? Somewhere in the middle, and just make the plays that you're able to make. I mean, make the throws that you're supposed to throw. I mean, don't just come up short and underthrow a guy who was open for a touchdown. All you had to do is throw it in the bucket. I mean, you do that in your sleep. So that to me, that's where this team is. It's an average team, middle of the road team that can't afford to not, make the plays that are available. Really, at the end of the day, that's it.
This show brought to you by Lee Company. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. Kayla, final parting thoughts as we say goodbye to you for your segment of this Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff.
Yeah, my parting thoughts, guys, is, and Blaine said it, right now they're an average team, and I would agree with him 100% on that. One thing that I have always seen in a Titans team under Mike Vrabel is their, I guess, surprising of people and teams on certain occasions. I guess you can call it the Mike special, right? Mm-hmm. I know the last time that they were here in London losing when they couldn't convert a 2-point conversion. I know that is kind of stuck with Mike Vrabel. He's even brought it up in a couple of press conferences this last week. And so I feel like this could be one of those games. While I know a lot of people are not picking them to win this, they could surprise some people. And I think the biggest thing for them to do is play as clean as they can be, no turnovers or very, very few, and just find a way to execute in the red zone. I think that's the biggest thing for them. You've seen these battles with the Ravens in the past, some of them really, really close, right? They're two teams that do not like each other well, but the biggest thing is Titans need to play to their identity, play as a physical team. You've got to have that if you're going to win this game against the Ravens, who are extremely physical team as well. So we'll see what happens, guys.
Enjoy the game, Kayla. Travel safe on the way home, and we will talk to you next week.
Sounds great. Have a great rest of the show.
Yes,
Appreciate
ma'am.
it. Thank
Kayla Anderson and Buck Reising will leave us now. And it's Blaine and Mickey and you the rest of the way. You're up early. You want to get involved in the discussion? Watching the sun come up and talking some Titans, 615-737-1045 will get you on with us. You need to get on the phone with Lee Company, too, if you need something done around your home. The Titans trust their home stadium to Lee Company to tackle their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical problems. They can protect your home, too. Your next play is to visit leecompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. Lee Company countdown to kickoff. What's up? Good morning, Nashville. You can see the sun starting to peek through all the clouds. Thanks to Lee Company for getting up early with us. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. I will talk about them more as our last 20 minutes or so unfolds on the show here. Buck and Kayla are in London. So Buck went to Buckingham Palace. Kayla went to soccer stadiums with Will and Ramon. Blaine and I stayed home. We did things in Tennessee. We'll finish up this show all Tennessee. It's Joseph and Blaine and Mickey and Danny, who checked in on the phone, 615-737-1045. Danny, what's up, man? How's this game going to go today?
Well, I think the Titans got a good chance of winning it.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know what I talked to before, but I mean, I think Derrick Henry will score a touchdown today. I mean, I think he'll break one for about 25, 30 yards. Of course, everybody got a block move at the park, you know.
Wow. Well, Danny, thank you for the phone call. I'd love to see Derrick Henry break a long one today.
Like he did that other day, boy. That was classic. With those breaking tackles and what was it, a 29-yarder?
Broke 3 tackles,
Oof.
and then he did the thing where he outran everybody the rest of the way. Now, he's going to have to outrun guys like Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith today. The Ravens are just bad dudes, man. It's just top to bottom bad
you see
dudes.
how Roquan Smith looks after he got traded? That's from the Bears?
Yeah.
Oh, my. I'm like, this guy looks like the second coming of Ray Lewis. Maybe a little more athletic just because of the generational time gap. But, man, him and Queen, man, they make a nice tandem, man. They get after it. Their defense is really good.
I know you like good secondary play, but anytime we talk about good linebacker play, you get this twinkle in your eye because you were watching those guys. You got to see a bunch of good ones in front of you here.
Yeah.
KB, Mr. Monday Night, and Eddie Robinson. And
Randall Godfrey. Yeah.
I mean, you saw some really good linebacker
First
play.
coming in my career, Al Smith, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I know you get excited. Well, those guys make plays, and they're going to be a big factor today. You and I talked a little bit about this week, Blaine, Tyjae Spears and how they've used him so far. It did seem like in the preseason, it was like they kept hinting at, well, he can do more than run the ball. He can do more than run the ball. I mean, this guy.
Well, his coach even said that.
Yep. Well, we had Willie Fritz on. He's like, oh, he can do everything. And your deal was Titans fans like Derrick Henry catching the ball, but he just goes and turns around and catches screens or maybe the occasional wheel route. Spears is a guy, though, we were told, and even his head coach said, oh, he can go run routes. Mm-hmm. I mean, a versatile piece like that, I know it's 5 games in for the offense. I would like to see some more of Spears' versatility on display.
Well, I'm interested why they haven't from last season. Maybe it's just because different offense. Remember Hilliard? I mean, man, especially in the red zone. I mean, he was, 20 and in, 25 and in. He was catching passes, touchdown passes. So I'm interested to see how Tim Kelly kind of implements that, not just in the red zone, but out on the field where there's more space, even if he's a decoy, to make room for even, Derrick Henry. Mm-hmm. How about if they're both in the game together and all of a sudden you split Tyjae Spears out wide like a wide receiver, then now you can still do all the things you want to do with, King with, run all kind of different run plays, screens, and then you can hit Tyjae, Spears on some slant goes, sluggos, route running goes. I mean, he can run slant. He can run all the route tree. So just kind of to set it up, and then you soften up the defense. You can get another player outside the box, and now you got Derrick Henry, and we leaving.
For people who maybe don't understand the football strategy side of it, I would say this: nobody explains it better than you. But if both of those guys are in the backfield and Spears goes out, motions out to run a route, the guy who's guarding him is a guy who is typically a mismatch for him, right?
Yeah. There's, probably almost all teams, it's not a time where you're really going one-on-one with the running backs in passing set formations. So, they do them, but there's not a lot of reps for that. That's kind of like a one-on-one drill, like you're doing one-on-ones and blocking. Right. Well, that's when that happens, and very rarely do you do that a lot. You're usually going against tight ends, maybe running backs, but never when they're, like, split out. So you don't get a lot of reps. So most of the guys then have to match up. And it kind of declares the defense, too, if you're playing zone or man. So, you get easy clarity on, where you need to go with the football. And to me, he would be a matchup nightmare, even with some safeties, just because he's just kind of that polished type player. So whether you're going to him or helping open up the offense, spread the defense out, then you can still pound with King.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, if he leaves and takes someone out of the box with him, King is like, oh, that's one that's got to hit me.
Yeah.
that's only seven guys to hit me.
Yeah, they in trouble now. 7 guys.
Yeah, absolutely. This show brought to you by Lee Company. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. Let's go back to the phones. Paul and Franklin checking in. Paul, you up plowing the back 40 this morning, man? Thanks for getting up early with us.
Yeah, man. We gonna make us a big old pot of homemade beef stew today, man. This beef stew, well, I love it.
Dang,
beef
we
stew.
should have done the show from your house.
Ooh, beef stew. Make me want some chili.
Well, come on. Well, that'd be pretty good too, Blaine. Big win for my balls yesterday. Now we need to get the Titans on track, brother Blaine. Look. I talked to you about 3 or 4 weeks ago before the season started, and I told you I had high hopes for the offensive line, and you told me that you didn't really like it was playing. We kind of disagreed. Well, I got to give it to you, man. You're right. I've been disappointed in them, Blaine, and we're not going to get this train back on track until we start dominating the offensive and defensive lines. We got to win the line of scrimmage. That's why we're losing football games. We are not winning the line of scrimmage, and I just want to know, is Tart going to be back today? Do y'all know that? And what do you think about how we're going to be able to start winning the line of scrimmage again? Hey, that's my call. God bless y'all. Go Big Orange and go Titans.
Thank you, Paul. Man, Paul making beef stew and reeling from his big Vols win yesterday. What do you think about the O-line today?
Well, is Tart going to play? That's what was first. We'll get that out the way.
Well, they brought up they made.
Doesn't seem like it, but he could. I mean, we're not there, but it doesn't seem like it's going down that road.
So they did things with 6 people yesterday, transaction-wise. 2 of the things of bringing a guy from the practice squad or signing a guy to the active roster were defensive linemen, Taylor Stallworth and Jaleel Johnson. So they made 2 moves to put 2 more defensive linemen on the roster yesterday. That makes me nervous.
Yeah, that makes me think that he's not playing. But we could be totally wrong, but we're just guessing. I mean, why would you do that?
Right. Right.
I don't know. Well, we've been bamboozled before. That's for sure.
We have.
Well, at least I have. Let me speak for myself. Oh, man. And then as far as the physicality, that was one of my keys to the game today, actually. Play physical. We've been out physical in 2 games, the Browns and the Colts game, really up front. It was really bad. I mean, you just like, oh, man, this can't happen. So it's just not Vrabel ball. So maybe, if not, then we're going to have to win other ways. So that means special teams, turnovers, explosive plays on defense, which they haven't been getting their hands on the ball either.
Oh, no.
So playing physical, though, was always the staple of Vrabel and the Titans just in general. And I think we're kind of losing that. That's why, we're wondering what's the identity. I think the identity is to try to continue to transition to this new offense. But defense, man, you better bring your bucket hat. I mean, because that was disappointing just to watch last week and how they were running the football. So physicality is number one uno. No turnovers naturally, no self-inflicted wounds, and, get yourself behind the chains always when something positive happens. And then let alone the red zone. Tannehill's got to make some tight window throws. He's got to make them. Can't miss. Can't be a fragment. Yard short, yard over. Got to put it on the money.
You can join the discussion if you want to. 615-737-1045. We're talking about T.R. Tart, and the reason why we're talking about him, and the caller was talking about him, and everybody's talking about him, is just because of how bad the rush defense was last week, and he wasn't there. They gave up 193 yards. One guy who was the backup had 165 of those. Don't look now, Blaine, but the Ravens are 4th in the league in rushing attempts. So they're going to run the ball today, and they got a quarterback who can run the ball, and they've got good running backs who can run the ball. They seem to have this never-ending supply of guys who are hard runners and quick runners and can get to the hole. You and me talked about this a whole lot last week, and Vrabel talked about it. Like, guys played peekaboo in their gaps. They didn't play sound defensive football, didn't get out their blocks, looked around their blocks. And we talked about the Ravens linebackers. We didn't even mention the names of the Titans linebackers last week. So where were those guys?
Oh yeah, when your front, four is not playing well, and they up there pick-a-booing them. That means that somebody's off. We call them jump throughs. That means the guards got to the second level and got to the linebacker, and they couldn't get off blocks. So, man, I can't imagine that to happen again. But we're going against a team who that's their bread and butter. So usually athletes come back the next week and perform at a much higher level. For whatever reason, they didn't play. So, you embarrass an athlete, a pro athlete, he's going to come out and show you that was a one-time occasion. So this is going to be like two Rams running into each other this game. And I'm wondering what's going to break, man. And I don't know which way it's going to go, but, man, I sure hope the Titans get it right, get it tight, because this will make a huge statement around the league. They beat the Ravens. And the Ravens are going to be pissed off because they felt like they should have won the game. They had, 7, 9 drops by the receivers. I saw a couple of them for touchdowns. So I'm like, dead in their hands, in their Mickey Mouse hands, too, by the way. And they were missing this. This was going to be a good one. Maybe the time change doesn't matter. Maybe it does. But if the Titans come out looking flat, boy, I'm going to be lit. They've been there. Put me on the post game again.
You should just call in and join the fun. Well, hopefully they don't. You mentioned turnover, so listen to this. In the Ravens' 2 losses this season, they've had 5 combined turnovers and just 1 takeaway. That's how important turnovers are against any team. But when the Ravens lose, they turn the ball over like most teams. The Titans forced no turnovers last week. They have just 2 over the last 4 games. And Vrabel spent a whole lot of time and literally in one part of a press conference, maybe it was Monday or Wednesday, went all in on we don't tip balls, we don't punch balls out of the quarterback's hand. He did the whole thing. I read the transcription. I mean, it was a huge chunk of text of him saying all the things they don't do on defense to knock the ball loose. Well, everything about the Ravens, every story I read, every reporter, every podcast I could find was – when they lose, it's because of self-inflicted wounds because they're a talented roster from top to bottom.
Oh, yeah, they have a much more talented roster than the Titans, as you mentioned. And, it just unforced errors on their part. Some of it is Jackson, and that's because the ball's getting knocked out while he's back there playing quarterback. But, it's interesting when I watch him now, man. He's actually trying to throw the football down the field, even when he maneuvers. There's times where he used to just take off and run and make some spectacular run. He is now stopping outside the pocket and then throwing dimes.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary to see if he can figure it all out and put it all together and hope it's not a get right, with the Titans. But looks like a much more polished quarterback that can run. Now, we all know he can run. So with that being said, I mean, if they catch the ball, it's gonna be a tough one here, man. The Titans gonna have to play their best to win this game.
How similar was the defense's prep this week for Jackson as it was for Richardson last week? And I know for people like, wait a second, I know Richardson didn't finish the game, but he is a strong arm quarterback who can also hurt you with his legs. Was the defensive prep similar, do you think, for those guys?
Oh, I'm sure some parts of it is, yeah. Just because you have a running quarterback. So whether you had a spy or you different elements, you may enhance that a little bit more because of Jackson's dynamic ability, to be like a running back, wide receiver type player once he's in open field. Which is unheard of these days. And Richards is somewhat like that. We haven't seen all of that in one game, but he definitely has the potential to do that. I think it would. I think they would do some different things on the rush in this game. It'll be a little bit different just to make sure they keep in the pocket. Big push up in the inside is going to be huge this game. So I'm looking for Big Jeff, Archer, and those guys inside to have Tart or whoever's replacing him to have a major impact on how the quarterback plays because he sits inside the pocket. I mean, he sits right there, stand tall too, Jackson. So make him falter a little bit, hesitate, maybe second guess himself.
It would be nice to see a couple turnovers today. All right. You mentioned Tart. If we see him or if we don't, here you go. Hot off the press from Jimmy Wyatt on Twitter. Titans inactives. Traylon Burks, Will Levis, who will be the number 3 quarterback. Obviously, Elijah Molden. He didn't travel. Caleb Murphy is inactive today. Luke Gifford, who did not travel, inactive. Jalen Duncan, inactive. And one, Mr. T. Tart, is inactive. So those transactions earlier this week for more big bodies on the D-line were exactly for what we feared they were for, because Tierre Tart will not suit up today for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, lost in all that shuffle is MPF. It's still, now dressing now and backing up Dillard. If nobody's even talking a lot about Dillard, we haven't even mentioned him this entire show.
You did. That's why we're a team. Okay, so I've been saving this question for you to bring this up. We got 5 minutes left. I've been saving this question. Whose leash is shorter today, Fulton or Dillard?
Man, I would say Fulton.
Okay.
Fulton. But I'm going to tell you right now, if I'm coaching, I'm not yanking him in. He has to play horrific. That's just where I'm at with it. Like,
is it because of what's behind him? You don't want to ruin his confidence for later because you know he's the best option. He just has to play like it. What all goes into that decision?
Well, it's just when you go there, you got to know that there's a possibility you may have to come back.
Yeah.
And you go, well, dang, so what is my purpose then for benching him? This is not high school. Oh, you messed up on a play we've done 50 billion times. This guy has just as much at stake as we do.
Yeah.
And that's with him getting a new contract, whether with the Titans or someone else. So I'm hoping this is just through a tough stretch for him. He's learning from it, and he'll be better for it. So let's see. And that's why I said I've been consistent. I'm going to go through to the bye week is probably when I'll start considering and looking at in detail, if we need to start even considering doing that. Now, some people would look at it as let's get whoever the other options are, Avery or whoever it may be, a shot, periodically throughout the game. And then see how he looks. That way you're not actually benching him, but you're just rolling dice, and maybe you put him on the other side to give the other guy a break just to see what he looks like out there. And I think they know who Avery is. I think he's a consistent player, but he's just a good backup player in this league that can hold the fort, but he's probably not the guy you want to be the starter on a consistent basis. I think teams will then start seeing a little bit of holes here or there if you start, man, we got a long season still left.
Yeah. You mentioned the phrase "get right" game earlier, and in doing my notes, it seems like I write the fear of that for somebody every week. OBJ has really started slowly. He only has 7 catches for 79 yards, and he's played in 3 games. He's the guy that I'm thinking, oh gosh, don't let him get right today.
No, this is not the game for that. I don't think he is. I watched him. He got nicked up in the game before this too. I don't know if they touched him or not. I just don't think he's fully healthy. You know what? I don't know if he'll ever be what we saw in New York Giants when he was with the Giants, the G-men. So, no. They have capable other players. That Flowers?
He's no joke.
He's a problem. He's a problem. Bateman, too, just because of his size and length and athleticism. Like, if he catches the ball. So, I mean, they don't just depend on OBJ. I think he's just a good, solid number 2 at this point in time.
You mentioned Zay Flowers, the rookie. He leads Baltimore in targets and catches and yards. Yeah. And then here's the guy that scares me, too, because tight ends have run roughshod. At times is Andrews. He's second in all those categories, and he leads them in touchdown catches with 3.
Yeah, he's the big weapon. I mean, he's one of the best in the NFL. He comes right off the top, top 3 tight ends in the league. So, yeah, he's I don't know if we really have an answer for him. So he may have a big day. But I don't think he can actually beat us, though.
Right.
Yeah.
The Titans defense gave up 5 X plays last week after they didn't give up any the week before, and they won the game. They didn't surrender any. They won. They gave up 5 X plays. How much do those have your I mean, they always have your attention, but 5 of them, and they were given up on the ground last week, too. It wasn't just all through the air. They ran for, a 54-yard touchdown.
It's mind-blowing to see all these big explosive plays a game. Like, that's like unheard of. Like, every game you're putting up 4 or 5 explosive plays, that's a recipe for disaster. So they have to stop that. At least get it down to 1. Maybe every now and then you'll get 2. 4 or 5, man. Oh, man, I can't even recall that ever happening but a couple times in my career.
Yeah.
And that is because, every now and then, you probably had one big game where somebody put up 4 or 5 on you when it was just one of those, we didn't have our stuff today. They just got us. Yeah, this is a regular occurrence. And I'm wondering if other teams deal with this same issue. Depending on the style, what they play. Like, it could happen to the Ravens because they get after the quarterback,
right,
and they leave their guys one-on-one. and somehow they survive. Now they give up touchdowns, but they do really well. Yeah, Humphreys. Yeah, they got a nice staple of solid players.
This show brought to you by Lee Company. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. Got a couple minutes left. We're out in just a couple minutes. I'll ask you, who are you watching today? Who has your attention? We always kind of wrap up the show with this. Who has your attention? Who really needs to deliver today for them to get this win in their home wink game?
I mean, the obvious is Fulton, right? I mean, for me, I really, man, he has tested my patience like if I was coaching him. I'm really hoping he just focus on the details and do his technique and don't try to force things and try to make a play, pick a booing in the backfield. Just be fundamentally sound. Do what you always have done, and you'll be fine.
Man, I'm looking at the stars on defense. I'm looking at Big Jeff, and I'm Byard. Byard's a guy who, when they need it, seems to get his hands on a pass. I'd love to see him get a pick on the back end today. Mm-hmm. I'd love to see, because when we're talking about rushing Lamar Jackson, you said needs to come from up the middle. Well, who's up the middle? Large Jeff. Mm-hmm. And it'd be nice to see them play well up the middle. And Autry, who is a star to Titans fans because of what he's capable of. Now, the NFL Network will never spin a segment on Danico Autry, but he is a star on this team the way he plays defense. And Fulton has a chance to – he's your number one cornerback, for better or worse. It would be nice to see those big guys on defense play like big guys
Landry.
Today. Oh, my gosh. Landry. Well, whatever's going to happen is about to happen a little over an hour from now. Titans Countdown will be up in just a few minutes, and they'll get you all the way up to kickoff. Live from London, Titans and Ravens. But as the sun comes up in Nashville, we'll lead you as we always do. Tighten up!